Hello again, students. This week we're going to be talking about plot elements of a story, and I'm calling it narrative elements because we are going to be writing our narratives, and I want you to be able to think about these elements not only in just a plot of a short story or a plot in literature, but I want you to think about when we get to the point where you're going to be writing your own narratives that you will incorporate these elements the best you can into your own narrative. So I'm going to go through this slideshow. It has some questions on it, but you don't have to worry about those questions right now. I'm going to have you go back and answer those after we read the narrative together today. So I'm going to put this in present mode so you can see the slides. Okay, so like I said, narrative elements. Every great short story or narrative has a good plot, full of suspense, endless ups and downs. The following slides talk about the plot elements that every great short story or narrative should have. All right, the first thing is exposition. So the exposition is the introduction to the story. It includes the primary characters' names, the setting, the mood, and the time. So the names of all the characters, and the setting is where it is located. The mood is it happy, joyful? Is it like starting out at a party? Is it sad, kind of somber times? So the mood, just kind of depends on what's happening at the time. And when I say time, it could be time of day, it could be time of the year, it could be a point in time, like maybe in the 1920s, and now we're in the 2020s. So, like, what period is it in? So, exposition kind of tells you these things. It kind of sets up the story and lets you know what you need to know in order to continue to understand the story. And so I'll point out the purple questions that I have on the slides. You will answer those after we read the little story together. So don't worry about those quite yet. Rising action. The rising action of the story is all the events that lead up to the eventual climax, which I'm going to talk about next. Includes like things like how the characters develop and events that might create suspense up until that climax point of the story. So basically anything that happens kind of in the beginning up to the middle and sometimes even towards the end of the story are rising action events. So the climax of the story or of the narrative is the most exciting part of the story, and it's a turning point for the plot or the goals of the main character. So it's almost the part of the story where you're like, you wonder what's going to happen, all the way up to the point where, like, right before you find out what's going to happen. Or maybe something really bad happened that changed the whole direction of the story, or something really good happened. So it's kind of like that point where you can't get any higher with maybe suspense or excitement. Falling action, everything that happens after the climax, including the wrapping up of the plot points, questions being answered, and whatever character development is left. And what I mean by character development is, did the character change? Did he or she grow? Did they go backwards maybe? What really happened with that character? Did that character learn a lesson? So when I'm talking about character development, I'm talking about the changes in each character, and usually especially the main character. Resolution. The resolution is like the ending. It's not always happy, but it does complete the story. It can leave a reader with questions, answers, frustration, or satisfaction. You know when you get to the end of the story and you're like, oh, I hate the ending. I have to try to imagine what happened. Or maybe it just wraps everything up and answers all the questions you have. That's what the resolution is. And theme. Theme is the last thing I will talk about today. It's a universal message that an author is trying to convey to the reader. And when I say universal, I mean something that everyone would understand. So if it wasn't universal, some of us would understand it and some of us might not. Some literature might have one or more themes that can be summed up just by a word or two, such as love, war, good versus evil, death, power, corruption, and survival. Those are just several examples of common themes in literature. A theme can also be kind of like the moral of the story, like what did the author learn? Often there's a lesson to learn in the story. So when we read the one today, I'm going to want you to be looking for that. Like, was there a lesson that she learned from this? And or what kind of message would she want people to know after she went through the stuff that she went through in this particular story? So I am going to end this video right now, and I will start the next one because I want you guys to read through the story with me. Sorry, I am not really figuring out how to stop my recording.